This lesson is an introduction to SQL. Now, what is SQL? Well, it's an abbreviation standing for Structured Query Language. It's generally pronounced not SQL, but SQL is the normal way we say it. What it is a unified language that deals with data in a relational database. It allows you to query the data, to define it, to modify it, to control security, all kinds of things with a relational database. Now, SQL is a standard. It's not a software product. A lot of people think that it's some kind of software product itself. A lot of times when you say SQL, people think, oh, Microsoft SQL? No, that's one product that's built on the standard specification for SQL. There are standards bodies out there that define how SQL should interact with a relational database. Now, the commercial institutions, such as Oracle and IBM and Sybase and these sorts of corporations, have extended the standards in some cases and have added extensions to SQL. Fortunately, about 90 to 95% of it is the same across all the different vendors. Now, the commercial vendors are people like Oracle, which owns MySQL as well now, Sybase, Microsoft SQL, and IBM. I've talked a little bit about a relational database, so what is it? A relational database is managed by a relational database management system, sometimes written as RDBMS or just DBMS. Now, the thing that makes something a relational database is all of the data is stored in something that they call tables. The mathematical term for that is relations. Now, conceptually, most people are familiar with working in a spreadsheet, and so the data conceptually is held in a grid-like format, very similar to a spreadsheet. The logical representation of the data is separate from its physical storage. Basically, that means you don't have to worry about how the relational database management system is handling the data. You just need to understand it from a conceptual standpoint, and we'll be able to use SQL using that. It is the one high-level language that is provided for dealing with relational databases. A little bit more here, it supports a concept of something called null values. Now, we're used to dealing with data when we ask an employee for their phone number and they don't have one right now. They're new in town and they're going to get a new phone number and they haven't got it yet. So we might leave a blank in a form if we were filling out something in paper. But in a database, we don't put a blank in there. The absence of data in a place where data can be held, the concept is it's a null value. And nulls are handled in a very special way with a relational database. And we'll be learning more about how to deal with them when we learn more about the SQL statements themselves. As I mentioned, SQL, or a relational database, provides mechanisms for dealing with database integrity, recovery, authorization, and transactions. And SQL is the language we'll use to handle those things with a relational database. So let's come back to the idea of tables. They have rows and columns, just like spreadsheets with rows and columns. But if you go into Excel, for example, across the top you'll see letters, column A, column B, column C, etc. With a database, what you see is something more meaningful. Like you see in this grid that I have here, it's bolded. And employee ID is a column name. Not A, but employee ID. It holds the employee IDs. Last name holds the last names, and so forth. So it identifies the kind of data being held in each column. Now, each row, instead of being identified by a number 1, 2, 3, 4, we have some field in there that's defined as a primary key. And while it's not completely obvious from the grid that I'm showing you here, the employee ID here is going to be unique. Every employee will have a unique employee ID, so we're going to use the value in there to keep track of one unique employee. Now, I've talked about a relational database system, but what is a database? Look at the first bullet here. Essentially, it's a set of related tables. These are tables that make sense to be together. For example, you might have a payroll database or a company database. Now, when you create a table, and we will learn how to do that, they're separate, and they're equal in the sense that There's no automatic hierarchical ranking between tables. One table is as equal as any other table. There's no inherent relationship, but you can force the issue through something called primary keys and foreign key relationships, and I'm going to talk about that along in this chapter. Now, look at these boxes down at the bottom of the slide. They represent tables. There's a department table and there's an employee table. And you see there's a line between them. There's one line going over to the employee table, and this little business here with the lines branching off, this is affectionately known as a crow's foot. And what it says here in this little diagram is that for one department, we can have more than one employee. And that's the most likely relationship between a department and employee. We're going to use diagrams like this when databases are put together. Understanding the concept is going to help us navigate whatever database we're working with the SQL statements that we need to run against it. Here's a concept you should be familiar with: an entity. An entity is basically a noun. It's a person, place, or thing for which you want to hold information, like the employee table. It contains information about individual employees. The department table creates information about departments. Now, each separate characteristic of an entity becomes a column in the table, just like we had last name for employee and first name for employee. Those are characteristics, columns from a table. Each occurrence of an entity, in other words, one employee, is on one row. So the employee table is actually a collection of employee entities. Sounds kind of heartless, but that's the way we refer to it in database language. So here's an example table. A very, very simple and impractical table, but a table nonetheless. It has two columns. It has a last name column and a city column. Last name, Perry Smith Jones. City, San Diego, Los Angeles, Los Angeles. So in the above table, last name and city are columns, and each different person is on a row. Now here, a primary key would just be the last name. In the real world, of course, last name would be a terrible primary key. We could only have one employee with an individual last name. Now, the primary key that I was talking about is what we use to uniquely identify the row. And I showed you back a ways that the employee ID was not a bad choice for identifying an employee. The definition of a primary key is any column or combinations of columns that can be used to uniquely identify a particular row. Now we're going to learn about data manipulation statements as we go here. There's the select statement, which is the one most often used, and it's what we use to query the database to get information out that we want to see. And it can get quite complex, and I'll show you some of the complexity as we go along. Now, to maintain data, we can add rows to the database with the insert statement. We can change data that's already there using the update statement, and we can delete a row or rows of data using the delete statement. Here's an example of a primary key. Coming back to that for a moment, you'll see that the last name column acts as the primary key. And as I mentioned before, names are not usually the best choice, but this is a very simple example. Now, if we want to find a value in one of these cells, we need to know the primary key value and the column name. So if I wanted to know what city Perry lived in, I would know the city column, and knowing Perry is the value of the primary key is enough to get me to San Diego. Remember that SQL is a high-level language. It's got three basic categories. You don't have to remember this, but conceptually understand it. There's that data manipulation language, which is the four statements I showed you with select, insert, update, and delete. And the data definition statements, which define objects in the database. We're going to create tables, or we can remove them as well with a drop statement. Data administration controls access to the database. It's used for security. These are the data definition statements themselves. They're create or drop. Now, normally you'd think destroy or something would be the opposite of create, but drop is what they use. So we'll create a table. If we want to get rid of it, we'll drop a table. There are other database objects like views and indexes that we'll get into later on in the class. That ends our lesson on an introduction to SQL and relational databases.